everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecolored.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me, and today I'm going to be talking about some tools for cutting paper. If you're at all interested in paper crafting, and I assume that if you're watching this channel then you're at least a little bit interested in paper crafting, you probably realise that at some point you are going to have to cut your paper and cut your card. Now you can go as old school as a pair of scissors, or you can use a craft knife and a ruler and a cutting mat, but to speed things up a bit, I personally like to use a paper cutter or a paper trimmer, and I have several that I mix and match between, and today I thought I would talk about my different paper cutters and the different things that I use them for. So first off, this is my big paper cutter, and I don't think I've ever shown this in one of my video tutorials, for the simple reason that it is big. If I turn it round, you can maybe get an idea of the size of it. So this one is it's a rototrim, and it's the kind is professional M15, so it's the second to smallest that they do. I think the smallest they do is the M12. This is the M15, and it's called M15 because, I don't know whether you can see that. Not really. It cuts up to 15 inches on this side here, which is more than big enough for what I need, and it'll cut to 12 inches on this side. Well, it'll measure to 12 inches. So what I tend to use this one for is for cutting card in bulk. It's strong enough to take several layers of card at once. I think it'll cut out something up to 3mm, and it's very, very strong, as I just said, and because it is a rotary cutter, so as I move the cartridge up and down here, there is a wheel underneath, and it self-sharpens, so you never need to replace the blade, and I've had this for at least 5 years, and it's used, I would say, at least daily, and it's still absolutely fine. Now, I use this for cutting my card blanks. I've got a guide along the top there that I can line up to the width that I want my card to be cut, and straight through, no problems at all. And I want it to be, let me see, 11.5 inches, 11 3/4, which is, yeah, 11.5, and that is right on the end of where the guide will catch to. So I'm just going to hold on to that, because the little screw that holds it in is kind of just on the edge. And there's my card blank. So, advantages of this: it's very strong, it's heavy duty, never needs sharpening. Disadvantages: it was pretty expensive. I got this as a Christmas present a few years ago. It's big and heavy, and you know, it's not easy to move around, and it takes up quite a bit of space. So I don't generally see it in my tutorials. I do all of my cutting out on this cutter before I start filming, but today I thought I would I'd show it to you. Certainly move it now out of the way. Right. So now I have my card blank, or the basis of my card blank. So this is where I might bring in my paper trimmer. Now I've done a whole tutorial, a whole video on my paper trimmer, because this is the new Stampin Up trimmer, which replaces the one that they've had in their catalogue for these many years, and I absolutely love this. This is absolutely first class trimmer. You can now when I got mine, it was only available to demonstrators, but it's now going to be available to everybody. And I'll just open up the guide here. And this is this is a cutter and a scoring blade. Normally I would do my scoring on my Simply Scored, but for this I can use my cutter, so my scorer. So I'm going to score this at 5 3/4. So what I am doing, making sure my darker grey blade, which is the cutting blade, is out of the way. I'm going to line the edge of my paper up to the 5 3/4 inch mark. I'm going to take the light grey blade, which is the scoring blade, and I'm just going to run backwards and forwards a couple of times, and there I have scored my card blank. Alright, so advantages of this one compared to the other one: it's inexpensive. My big one cost over £100. This one is cost more like under 25. It's very, very portable. It's very, very lightweight. It cuts and scores. One of the things I like about it is that the guide here will click into place when you're using it, and it will hold your paper down. And that's important for me because I am the queen of wonky cutting. I absolutely am. If I can make things, if I can make things at an angle wonky, you can bet your life that I will. What else? What else do I like about it? I said it's very lightweight. It's a good size, and you can cut paper. Let me pull that guide out again and show you that goes up to 17 inches. So I can put a piece of paper on here that is 17 inches wide, and it will be held firmly by the guide. Disadvantages compared to the big one: the blades do wear out. Now at the moment I'm still on my first blade, so it hasn't worn out yet. They are going to be available to, as replacement blades are going to be available. And this particular brand of cutter, there are other cutters out there, maybe I shouldn't say this, but there are other cutters out there whose blades are compatible with this guide here. This one, it measures in inches and centimetres. I should have said so did my rotor trim. But the guide down the side here is only in inches. That doesn't bother me because I'm very much an inches girl, but I know that if you were used to using metric, then you may find that a little bit difficult to work with. Stampin' Up have said that they may be producing one with a metric guide here, but I'm quite happy with it. So that is the that is the paper trimmer. The other thing I would like to say is that it is a trimmer. Alright, so it isn't really meant to be the big kind of workhorse that my rotor trim is. The reason why I wanted a rotor trim in the first place was I used to be a primary school teacher, and we used those kinds of trimmers to prepare work for our pupils all the time. So if we had to cut down paper, if we had to mount work on paper, we would be cutting it on the rotor trim, and we would be cutting several sheets at a time. So it was the kind of cutter that I trusted. This one is much more for light duty, so if you've got photographs that you want to trim down to go into your scrapbook, or you just want to do a little bit of cutting mats and layers for your cards, this is absolutely fine. All right, I do love it, but it's kind of horses for courses. So let me bring in the new kid on the block, actually, and this is a guillotine type cutter, and it's very, very new. I haven't even taken the protective plastic off it yet. So let me just do that there. Okay, so this one is, it's a guillotine cutter. So along the side there you have a blade. I'm not going to touch it because it is quite sharp. And when you want to cut yourself a piece of paper, this is I'm going to cut this to 3 3/4 of an inch. Hold it in your guillotine cutter and just slice down, and that is razor sharp. All right, so that has cut beautifully. The only, I suppose, issue with this particular one is that it is very small. Now, these guys come in all sorts of sizes. Before I got my rotor trim, my workhorse paper cutter was a 12-inch version, similar to this. Mine was made by X-Cut. This is made for Stampin' Up, and it is a mini one, as you can see. Blades never need sharpening. This particular kind, it will be quite portable, but of course the disadvantage of it is that I'm very limited as to the size of paper that I can put into it and measure. So if I want to trim this paper down to 5 and 5.5, I can't measure it because that particular cutter isn't big enough. So I'm going to bring back my other trimmer, trim that down. This time I'm going to use my dark grey blade. And now I've cut my mat for my card. This one is super portable, so I could pop that into a not very big bag at all and take it with me wherever I go. We've got measurements on inches and in centimetres, but again, down this side, we've only got measurements in inches. So again, if you're somebody who is used to working in centimetres, that may be a problem for you. The other thing about this cutter is, at the moment, this particular one is very, very exclusive. It's at the moment only available to Stampin' Up demonstrators to buy, or if you join as a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I think before the end of March, or maybe before the end of the spring-summer catalogue, you get this, and you also get this, which is a designer series paper 6x6 inch sampler, which is a sampler of papers that are going to be in the new catalogue and in Celebration. And you can also get an extra stamp set of your choice to go in your starter kit, which is in the UK you pay £99 and you get, I think it's £135 worth of goods that you choose. So if you're thinking of joining Stampin' Up early in the new year, might be a very good time to do it. Okay, so if I just take that, I think I'm going to make a little card with the paper that I've cut, because why wouldn't I? And it's not very straight here because I haven't burnished it down with my bone folder. Okay, so there I've got the start of a card front, and let me see. So let me see what I've got in my scraps box here. So I think that's Real Red, and that's more Poppy Parade. So this is how I keep my scraps. Oh, well, that's Poppy Parade, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yes, so let's have a bit of that, and let's cut a piece that's, let's say an inch. Shall we? Let's make it 1.25 inches. And that can go along there. So we'll make that about, let's go with 3.25. We can always cut it down a bit further if we want to. Okay, so let's add a sentiment. I can ink this up on a bit of tuxedo black onto some whisper white here, and I'm going to stamp it kind of over to that side, the right hand side of my paper. me bring in my paper trimmer, and I can see where I'm cutting. Cut that away, and maybe take a little bit off the bottom here. Go. And I want that. Two and 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to line those up very simply, like that. And then I can use a little bit of my liquid adhesive and I'm going to put that deliberately at an angle, and I did get a mucky mark on my bit of whisper white here, but that's alright, I'm going to deal with that. So in my little bag of tricks here I think I have anyway, where's it gone? There it is. Come loose, don't want that to happen. I have a little sand eraser. And if I just lightly rub away with my sand eraser, that's as though it never happened. And I think that's just a little tiny bit long. So I'm just going to bring in my mini cutter. Chop that off. That is super sharp, I have to say. A bit of liquid adhesive, and I have made a card. And I wasn't going to make a card, I was just going to talk about cutters. So there it is. Now, thank you very, very much for joining me. Appreciate that this isn't the usual kind of content on this channel, and I do hope you'll bear with me. Having a lot going on in my personal life at the moment, and my crafting mojo has just kind of got up and gone. I'm hoping that it will come back soon, and that I'll be posting more of the content that you come to expect from me. But for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll be back and see you again sometime soon. Bye bye. I think I'm going to use the paper trimmer. Ugh. Well, that was a mess. Let's start again, shall we?